interview this week, Senior Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Mr. Femi Adesina, talks about how the federal government plans to sustain its deliverables in the areas of security, fight against corruption, and reviving the economy. Watch. Mr. Femi Adesina, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, my pleasure being here.
Well, the president, this administration of the President Muhammadu Buhari has ruled for 4 years, and he has another 4 years to go. How would you, in your perspective, rate how the government has fared so far?
Well, there's a saying that no drummer can please all dancers. But then, a good drummer must please majority of the dancers. I think President Muhammadu Buhari and the administration he led is like a drummer that has pleased the majority of the dancers. When an administration is to be judged, you judge it based on what it promised.
Exactly.
And what the administration promised.
Has he delivered on his promise?
Yes, as the administration delivered. It said it will ensure security in the country. It will secure the country. Like the president will always say, you don't or you can't administer a country if you have not secured it. That's one. It said it will revive the economy, creating jobs. It's working at it. And then it also promised to fight corruption. And it is fighting it. So those three fundamental pedestals on which the administration was built are work in progress. And it's work being done.
Because a lot of Nigerians would argue that in terms of economy, we had conflicting reactions regarding our economy, for instance, and then also the fight in security. The fight against corruption, insecurity. They would say the success rate is neither here nor there.
That's why I said no drummer pleases all dancers. But when the drummer can please majority of the dancers, he has done well. And in terms of those three basic areas, the Buhari administration has done well. Compare what the security situation is now, as dire as it looks, with what it was in 2015. It's still a lot better.
What's the difference?
The difference is that go to some parts of the country where they couldn't sleep with their two eyes closed in 2015. Relative peace, relative to 2015, has returned.
So 4 years after, you say relative peace has returned?
Yes.
To a number of communities?
Oh, sure.
What states are you referring to?
I'm referring particularly to the Northeast, especially Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe states. There were a minimum of 17 local governments under Boko Haram occupation as of 2015. When I talk of occupation, I mean that in the MS palaces, Boko Haram was sitting on the stools and it was administering those territories. It no longer happens. I mean that NYSC was no longer holding orientation exercises in those states. It no longer happens. Orientation exercises have resumed. I mean that major roads had been closed down. Those roads are reopened. So the difference is clear. There is a wide gap between the security situation in 2015 and now. I agree that some other fronts or theaters of challenges have opened up. Zamfara was not as terrible as this in 2015. Gwari in Kaduna was not there. Some other theaters have opened. But then, compare Zamfara 2 weeks ago to today as we speak. There's a wide difference because the situation is being brought under control.
When you say 2 weeks ago, that's actually arguable because
yes.
We're talking about how many years this has been happening. For instance, we have an avalanche, so to speak, of kidnapping and even farmers herders clashes and all of that. Is that an improvement?
Those ones, farmers herders clashes, are not as virulent as they were. Is getting under control. It's not as terrible as they were. There were times when they struck every day. Now it is few and far between. So that one is coming under control, and it will come under control.
So when there's a few weeks of respite, that means it's under control?
Respite that will be sustained. I tell you that the Zamfara situation
that will be sustained.
Yes, the Zamfara situation will never be the same again after the onslaught that is going on there now. It will never be the same again. And that is what will happen with the different theaters of terrorism and criminality that we have across the country.
Because it seems as though these things have timings. When Nigerians actually feel that there's been some respite, in quote and all, the next thing we see is another onslaught. Just like that. It comes in periodically, so that just brings the efforts into question.
Everything has its expiry date. The expiry date is nigh. It's at the very doors. I believe so.
Interesting. So how is this menace really going to be tackled? Is there any specific strategy, really? Nigerians are looking forward to something like this, because Nigerians hear every day that the government is saying one thing and saying it persistently. Of course, it's good to give Nigerians hope. But when that hope, when it's beginning to wane in some areas, then it calls into question the sort of efforts the president is employing.
I like that line by Alexander Pope. I keep quoting him. Hope beats eternally in the human breast. You must never get to a point where hope is lost. Hope must continually be there. Otherwise, the next thing is despondency. And when you become despondent, it's not worth it again then. We must always keep up hope that these security challenges will become things of the past. And I want to assure you, because the government has capacity. If the government doesn't have capacity to end the security challenges, it's a different thing. It's a government with capacity. And eventually these things will end.
Let's take a look at the economy. Beginning with the rise in debt. Right now, the debt profile, according to the Debt Management Office, stands at 24.3 trillion naira. And of course, we saw, many Nigerians applauded that, the minimum wage, 30,000 minimum wage increase. So how is the government going to connect this? Because when you have rise in debt and you have to pay debt at the same time, increasing salary, what about the fear of inflation? Where does that stand?
Well, that issue was always there when there was agitation. I wish you had confronted those who are agitating for that wage with this reality. But it was always there. Now that it has come, the minimum wage has been acceded to the bill, we need to live with it. But the government is looking at...
We need to live with what?
Wait, let me conclude that. The government has been looking at creative ways to pay that wage on a sustainable basis. That was why he set up the Bismarck Rewani-headed committee to find ways in which government could pay that wage on a sustainable basis. In other words, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a hell exercise to pay it on a regular basis. But President Buhari has said many times that he is committed to a new minimum wage. And
so that wage was just approved just to please Nigerians, and not necessarily concerned about the after effect.
No, both have to be considered together. There was a tripartite committee which sat and recommended that wage. After that, the Bismarck Rewani committee was set up to find ways that it could be paid on a sustainable basis. It will not do anybody any good if government pays for 1, 2, 3 months and it can't pay again. So President Buhari is committed to paying it on a sustainable basis. And that committee has come with recommendations. Those recommendations
which the states have accepted.
Yes, and the National Economic Council has looked at those recommendations. I'm sure it will accept most of the proposals. It may not accept all, but then it will look at the recommendations that have been made so that the salaries can be sustained.
Well, thank you for your emails and tweets as always. Keep sending in your views and comments using the email address and Twitter handle on your screen. Also, be sure to share anything happening within your locality. Don't you forget, you can view the program on youtube.com/channelsweb/videos. Thank you for watching this week. I'm Gloria Umezige. See you again.